Welcome to the Find Your Flow podcast. Well, hello and welcome to Find Your Flow. Welcome, Lena Ehrenberg. How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It's so lovely to meet you here and see your beautiful face. This is great.
Likewise.
Thank
Likewise.
you. Thank
I think
you.
that this is such a wonderful topic because I really do think that we're redefining relationship with self. And then that, of course, right, flows right out to our relationships with other people as friends, as family, as partners, as life partners.
Yeah.
So I think that this is like this little diamond that listeners will be able to glean a lot of guidance from and validation to to hit it right on the nose.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's wonderful. And all that you said, and in addition to all of those relationships that you mentioned, also our business relationships.
Yeah,
I
right?
think we can't see any part of our lives as separate from any other part. That's part of how I think about my flow. It all has to flow.
I mean, I think the days of compartmentalizing everything into their little cubbies is over. I don't think we can go back to that. And mainly because I think that this is just such a starvation of authenticity to just bring it all under one circus tent, bring it all together.
Oh my
And
gosh. Yes.
right?
And I'm
All
writing
right.
down what you
So
just said. Starvation of authenticity. Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
So I'm a channel, I'm an intuitive, I'm a Reiki master. So certain things start hitting into my brain a couple days before I ever even meet a guest. And that was a big statement that just kept repeating. There was a starvation for authenticity. And I wondered, "Oh, who is that for?" But and I keep a little note and I put it where I think it needs to go. And
Mhm.
here we are.
And here
Here
we
we are to
are.
talk about it.
Yes, yes. And the word that's coming to me now, having heard you say that, is presentational. That,
Mm.
uh, and I don't know, I don't even know if that's actually a grammatically correct word, but
I don't think it
it's,
matters. I think we're making things up as we go
oh,
along.
I love that. Okay, good. Thank you. I'm going to be making up a lot of words, I think. But in striving to be my authentic self, I can make up words, right? And that's
That's
kind of
right.
interesting to think about. But especially, look, I acted for many, many years. So, the idea of presenting a
Mm.
character other than yourself is part of that conversation. But I think what a lot of people who are not actors don't understand is that it's not lying. It's not simply making something up.
Right.
And when you really understand how it works, you realize that it's the actors who start most grounded in their truth that offer the best performances. And it's actors who just kind of try to put things onto themselves from the outside that I walk away from that movie thinking, I didn't get it.
It didn't quite land.
It wasn't true, right? And
Right.
so I've kind of taken a lot of those principles into my work with my clients, and that really is so much of the foundation of how I teach, which is you've got to start from yourself. You've got to start with yourself. You've got to be so grounded in yourself, because when do most of us learn about romantic relationships and dating? When we're adolescents. And, with adolescents, with people all throughout our lives, and especially with adolescents, we're very aware of how we're being seen, how we're being perceived. What do I look like to other people, right? Yes, hypersensitive. And so we start to often just think about what we look like to other people. And that starts to get us very in touch with our outsides,
Mm-hmm.
because other people, unless they're very close to us, they don't see our insides. And there's that disconnect that starts with that. And then nobody teaches us afterwards, unless we actively pursue being
Right.
taught
Right.
how to date, how to create relationships. And so we can go through our whole lives just kind of, thinking from our outsides, and then go out in the world and say, who's out here? Who wants me? It's about who likes me. And
Right.
no, right? It's got to be about, okay, who are we, and who can we find to be our best complement
Ooh,
to
I love that.
ourselves?
My husband would often say that he would come home from a meeting or something and he would say, "Oh, well, they sent their representative."
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Right?
See?
Let that land. They sent their representative. And I would look at him and I would go, "Okay, so that's a waste of time." And he goes, "It was a complete waste of time. I never got to meet the real person. I got to meet," or we would call them the mayor, right? The mayor of their own life. They show up, they wave in a parade, right? They shake hands, they kiss babies, and that's the representative that you get to meet. It's really hard to get in there and meet the actual soul of a person.
And I love that you just said that, because it's making me, I'm now doing a scroll through all the mayors who I've met throughout my
Yes.
life.
Oh,
And we
I mean, and
love
you know
them.
them.
Oh, you know them,
You
but the
do.
thing is, we love them because
Absolutely. They're
I
so
mean,
charming and they're so loving. And then you go, well, where is that person 100% of the time?
right, right. Oh
It's
my
funny. I
gosh.
just I just put an episode out on the podcast, like the many versions of me. It's an entire episode of just it's a love letter. So some of the episodes on the podcast are love letters from Lisa, and this recent love letter was was literally the many versions of me. How many of me are there out there living full lives, and this craving to bring them all together and to have one me, not a representative, but me that gets to show up. And that right there is the essence of Find Your Flow for me. So, Lena, drum roll, what does Find Your Flow mean to you? Because I think that kicks off everything else from this point on.
Right. Find my flow for me means, where can I, or how can I be most fully and authentically myself, and move myself through every aspect of my day. And some of those aspects are fun, and I really want to do that, and I feel like that's great, and I got that. And then so many aspects of my day are a slog for a variety of reasons. It might be something that's not particularly fun. It might be something that's extremely grown up that has to be handled. All of that. And how can I do all of those things and keep showing up? And that really is the most difficult thing for me, very honestly. And it might be for a lot of other people too, but it might not be. I've heard it said that there are many, many people who have the maturity to get the difficult thing done first, so
That's
they know
me.
that it's done. Okay, I am your evil twin. I am a Gemini, and so I am both the good twin and the evil twin. And in this moment, I am the evil twin, because I am that person who sits
Just
all
pushes it off.
day
Put it off. Put it
dreading,
off.
dreading. Let me move that another half hour up on my calendar, another hour up on my calendar. I admit it. And it doesn't, ultimately, does it serve me? No. But until, so that's something that I'm still working on. That's another way. Thank you for opening up this conversation, because I never thought of it that way. I think that I would be able to find my flow more easily and more readily if I would just allow that that part of me is a part of me and it's
Yes.
okay. And I don't
How
have to
about she's
keep
not evil?
exactly.
There's a thought, right? How about she's not bad?
Yeah.
How
And
about she needs a lot of tenderness and care and grace until she's capable of handling the things that she
right.
doesn't necessarily want to do, right? Like
And
it maybe it takes the majority of your day to fill your cup in order to then start pouring out.
thank you. Okay. Well, that's a really great shift of thought. And I'm going to take that on because I was just thinking, how about you don't have to keep drumming up the voice of my fifth grade teacher
Mm,
who is very disparaging of that kind of behavior, so and I think I look back on all of my teachers with such love and such respect and a lot of gratitude, and yet it was that one particular teacher who that
of
voice
course,
could
right?
really turn it up. And and so, yeah, I will say though that if there's something that really needs to get done, it gets done. It might involve me getting up out of bed at midnight and going back and doing it, or getting up at 4 and doing
Mhm.
it and then going back to sleep. And my thought is, as long as it's done before I start my day, then it counts, right? And so my next day. So yeah, uh, um, it's kind of interesting about that though. The whole going back to the whole idea of presenting. What are we presenting, and how are we thinking about people looking at us from the inside,
Mhm.
outside, especially when we're thinking about dating, because one of the things that I hear so frequently from women is, I didn't feel any connection. I went out with him, I didn't feel any connection, over and over and over and over again. And I learned how to handle that issue for myself so that I could teach it to others. But when you think about what that does, when you're talking about especially early stage dating, not only is this person potentially someone that you could be or might want to be
Mhm.
spending a lot more time with going forward, but it's all about really getting underneath the exterior and eventually knowing who this person is. And
Yes.
so if we haven't learned how to get past presenting what we think that person wants to see, they're not getting to know us either. They are leaving that date probably feeling the same way. And it's being exacerbated all over our world right now.
I love I love that you just said that that a lot of people are busy trying to be what they think the other person wants to see.
Mm-hmm.
And listener, just in case you haven't figured this out, we are here with a dating expert, and she is teaching us how to live our most authentic self so that we can create bonds in our lives that are as authentic. It's interesting to me. Our daughter is 25, and she too is an actress, by the way. And what she is learning to do is to actually create characters from her experience, from her very center, and then gets to project out the authentic emotion of a character.
Exactly.
And then the nuances are not hers, right? They are the characters. They become the characters. So I love that you said that. And the other thing that I really connected with heavily is I actually would not be here doing what I'm doing today had it not been for an acting class.
Really?
Yes. Yes. That
Do tell.
look at you. I love that because
Yeah,
you just
here.
leaned on in.
Tell. Yep.
No, truly. So when I first started in holistic care, I was a gyrotonic instructor, and That's in the wheelhouse of dance, yoga, Pilates, Tai Chi, all of that. So you have to go to classes and you have to get certification and you have to do all of these things. And one of the criteria was to teach a class. Before the end of the foundations, you had to teach a class. And when it was my turn, I burst out into tears, had a complete and utter panic attack, and ran out onto the streets of New York City where I blended in with absolutely everybody else. But I thought to myself, there's no way that I'm going to be able to teach a one-on-one, like close connection with someone if I don't know how to present as a teacher. I don't know how to play the role of a teacher. That was my thought. I don't know how to speak and breathe at the exact same time. I don't know what that's like. And our daughter was already in acting classes. She was at this wonderful school. And I came home and told my husband all of this. And he said, well, the acting school, it just started a class for adults. How about we be their first students? And I said, yes, I'll do it if you can be there with me. And he said, yeah, of course. He's from a family of actors, actually. He's
Okay,
the only.
I just have to say, I love your husband.
Uh, so do I. So listen, when I scheduled to have you on, my thought was, I'm really lucky that I met my husband in college. I'm very, very lucky that I mean, literally, that in and of itself is a story you would love. I showed up late to class, and it was one of these huge, like 10-foot tall, solid wooden doors in a very old stone building. So it creaked really loudly. And when I came crashing in, I made so much noise in a classroom that was filled and only one space open, and it happened to be right in front of him. Right. And
Thank you,
I
universe. More, please.
I mean, literally, if we really dug into that, there's so much, because it really was, the world stopped when I saw him. The world just stopped. Everything went silent. But I think about how first of all, how lucky I was to have had that exchange, to have even met him. But then I'm really proud of myself, because the boyfriend I had had before him, had I let him be my definition of men in my life, I never would have been able to have the courage to have had a relationship with my husband. It took a lot of trust, a lot of trust. And that couldn't have happened if I hadn't shown up as my whole self and just been like, this is me in a ratty sweatshirt and my hair pulled back into a bun. This for right here, right now, is the best that it gets. This is as good as it gets. And there was some sort of, I don't know, it was so eye-opening, because he looked at me and said, I'm heartbroken. Like, I don't have much to give you, because the girl who just broke up with me left me shredded, empty. And I said, okay, so how about we be study partners? Because that's as much as we could give in that moment. And that's what we did. We were study partners who became very good friends, who became best friends, who then fell in love.
Oh,
But that's like, and I get full body chills. But there's something to be said about the ignorance of youth, right? Where you're in your 20s and you're like, nah, what the hell? And you throw it up on the wall and see if it sticks. It's a little bit harder as we get older, right?
yeah.
And a little bit more gun shy and a little bit more entrenched in who we think we should be. So how do you help women through that? And also, my other question, do you work with men or do you work exclusively with women?
I do work with men.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, I do work with men. And it's really interesting, because it's interesting that you're asking that, because just in the last 3 weeks, I'd say 5 people have asked me if I work with men. And so I think
There's a shift happening.
there's a shift happening here.
Yeah.
And I work with men based on the same principles that I work with women, because That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about principles. We're not talking about how one gender is supposed to be acting and another gender is supposed
Yes.
to be acting, and who is supposed to be doing what at what time, and how much of that, and how long do you tolerate that, and all of that. That is just this surface
Noise.
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 Exactly. I want to go back a second because you asked me the question about how do I do that with my clients.
Mhm.
And I want to go back even further to when you were telling the story. You said it was because you showed up in your ratty sweatshirt and your with your hair, however it was, and all the things that you said. But what I thought of immediately was you also showed up late.
Yes.
Now, here's the thing
Yes.
about that. I don't know if it could be ignorance of youth. It could be that, or it could simply be that we all, because we know that children, real youth, youthful youth does this, children just be.
Yes.
And that's not even ignorance. I don't consider that ignorance. I just think that,
It
like,
might be geniusness,
yes,
right? Yeah.
because it's the core of who they are. And whether we call it universe or God or source or what it is, children are so tapped into that. And they just be
Mhm.
because they're getting that divine download and they're just acting on that. And so, well, but we start to, as we get older and as we get more mature and as we get more responsible and all of those things, we start to really be very, very conscious of having to follow the rules, having to follow the
Mhm.
rules. And so, but it doesn't mean that any of us couldn't at some point simply be late to something. The difference is, if I show up late and I slide into the one chair and I look around me and I might see a man who is attractive to me in that moment, but if my head is filled with, oh my gosh, it's already started. How could I have walked in late? This is terrible.
Ooh.
Now the professor is going to be, watching out for me. And this is just like the first class. And I've already marked myself. And I'm in here instead of being present. Then I might have just been so filled with shame or self loathing or
Mm.
self recrimination or whatever it is that I might not have even had a conversation with this person. And that's how I work with my clients, because it really depends on what you're bringing in. You brought in that you found yourself in this circumstance and you were able to be present with it and open to it.
And I have to be honest, I don't even it was not a conscious decision. It was a out of body experience. It was as if the entire room had just disappeared. It went silent and it was just him. Tunnel vision. All I saw was him, and he moved his bag and told me I could sit there, and I was like, "Oh, something profound just happened."
Yeah.
And it was when I think about all of the relationships in my life, there's that profound moment where I feel like, "Oh, that I should be in reverence of this moment. I should be in reverence of this person." There is something magical. I think other people would explain it as magical, right? And so I will say thank you to you for pointing that out, because here I thought it was something that happened to me as opposed to something I chose to stay in. And I did do that. I may have not chosen for it to have happened, but I absolutely chose to stay in it.
Right. Which leads me beautifully into what I was going to ask you. Were you really out of body? or were you in your being?
I have full body chills right now. I was absolutely in my being. 100. I have these chills are not going away. My legs are full goosebumps right now. Lena, you're really good. And I've been married for, oh God, he always makes fun of me. I can't remember our anniversary. I don't
That's
remember, but it's
okay.
like we've been
Lots.
together for over 30 years.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I can't remember the details.
You've got that skill though. I've got, and I absolutely, some people would be very upset with themselves, but I think it's absolutely a skill. I cannot tell how old anybody is. I can't tell what year something happened. I don't know how long ago.
I've not a
If
clue.
you ask me anything, when did you do that thing? I will tell you, oh, it's like a year ago. And it
It was
could be
probably like
10 years ago.
15.
Yeah,
Yeah.
10, 15 years ago. It was a year ago, wasn't it? Maybe two tops. I just, it's just.
I am the exact same way. It means nothing to me. Oh my gosh. So I'm starting to understand your skill level. And listener, let me tell you, she's got skills. There's something definitely tapped in about you. That's for sure.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, on a
Thank you.
very profound, deep level, I think that you're able to sort of burrow to the very core, the essence of the person in front of you, the relationship, the guidance. I really truly believe that.
Mm.
So, would you say, and I'm a little tongue in cheek here, but would you say that this is how you help others find their flow through their lives, through their relationships, and back home to themselves?
Hmm. I think we have to start out finding our way back home to ourselves. And I know that that's how I started out on my journey, because I was one of the, I always say I was not a weekend workshop warrior. And I had friends who were, they were always off in some hotel ballroom
Lena,
somewhere.
we can be best friends. I'm the same way.
Yay, bestie. I love it. Yeah. So I was, look, here's the thing about me. I grew up hearing smart girl. You're a smart girl. Aren't you a smart girl? And it, I guess it was meant as a compliment, but I took that in and took it on, and I started to think, well, that means I should know everything, right? So
Ooh,
here's like somebody who's 9 or 10 or, ridiculous, but well, if I'm smart, it means I should know everything. And if I'm smart and I don't know something, I should be able to figure it out. But then if I couldn't figure it out, well, then, what does that mean? And so um, I became someone who had a hard time asking for help, but
mm,
I also had, and I wonder if that's why so many women do have trouble asking for help, because that we are told that, but I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's just, here's my little commercial to all of your listeners to
please
please
do.
ask
Go
for help.
ahead.
Please do. Please ask for help. Um,
It's
and
hard. Oh my God, it's hard, but
it's hard, and we live in a society which is like, go west, young man, and make your own fortune. And, the whole myth of our history has been about the Lone Ranger or
yes,
the
yes.
Lone Rangette, whoever it was. There's been these walls built around anybody asking for help, and so we just have to start to really flip that script right now. But it's so, going from that, it became, well, why would I would see something really beautiful at a craft fair and I would think, well, why would I buy that? I could make that myself. Well, after years, I figured out, well, yeah, I probably could, but I'm not.
Do I want to?
And do I want
And could I
to?
do it that well? That's
Exactly. But it was always like, well, I could do that, or I should be able to, the shoulds are just paralyzing. And so, but over time, it became that, until I had a real turning point in my life. And I decided that I didn't want to celebrate a very big birthday, and a big birthday is a birthday that ends in an O. Like, oh my goodness, that number now. Okay. So I had a very
Yay.
oh yeah,
Oh, yay.
yay. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. But so I had one of those
You're
big
an actress. I'm
birthdays.
going to challenge you. Find 5 ways to say that statement.
Oh no. That'll be for another conversation. But so I thought, well, I don't I wasn't in a relationship, and I was looking around me, and people were talking about celebrating these events with their partners, and I was not feeling that. And so um I thought it would be a great idea to take a walking trip in the south of France.
Are
And
we
I
talking like walking
like so there are the
trails and
well, there are these trips where these companies will you stay overnight in a lovely inn or bed and breakfast, and they come in the morning and they pick up all your luggage, and then you walk from that town to the next town. Or
Oh,
maybe
yes. I had a client do this.
yeah, or some of the trips are on bicycles, and
Mhm.
some of the trips are hiking trips. And so I chose the trip that I wanted based purely on the size of the villages, which were teeny tiny villages. I didn't want to be in big cities because I was going to be going to Avignon and Paris after that. I
Mhm.
wanted teeny tiny little villages. So I engaged a travel agent to kind of coordinate just all my travel part of it, and they sent her the itinerary. And I knew that I needed hiking boots, even though, and I had been hiking trails to here to, warm up and all of that. And she called me and she said, have you read everything? I said, no, I was super busy at work. I said, I'm going to take everything with me. I'm just packing everything that they said to pack, and I'm going to get on the plane, and I'll have hours to read
Plenty of
everything.
time to read, right?
Yeah. She said, you really should read it first. And I said, I just don't have time. Now, just like with you in that moment, that was, I thought the turning point moment came later, but I really realized that this was a turning point moment, because had I read everything, I might not have gone on the trip.
Right.
So
It's
it worked
exactly
for
what my
me.
client had said. Yes,
Yeah.
please continue.
Yeah. I was a little confused though. I thought I envisioned walking from village to village, walking through the lavender fields, and lavender fields grow in the flats. So I envisioned walking on roads and, walking through
Yes.
lavender fields and getting to the next
Yes.
village, and it smells great and it's beautiful and life is wonderful,
Very
right?
romantic.
Very
Yes.
romantic,
Very,
even
very movie-like. Yes.
right, but the kind of romantic that I could do myself and not feel like I had to have a partner. Beauty. I was really looking, beauty is just it's what I seek. And so I was a little confused about why they thought we ought to have one of those hiking stick things. And I thought, why? But okay, didn't get one. And because I wanted to travel all carry on. And so I go and I get there, and I wake up in the morning of the first day of the trip, and I'm all suited up, and they come and get my luggage, and I read the map and I go. I can't even find the trailhead. I couldn't find the trailhead. I was at the edge of the village. I saw that there were trees. I knew that I was in the woods, but I could not find the marker for the trailhead to.
There's
And
no
this
one there to get you started. There's no one to
no,
say, go
because
that way.
it was a self-guided tour. Oh, I didn't mention that. A self-guided tour. Now, here's the thing. So, and when I think about it, so I spoke a little French. I did study, and I had studied a little in school. I spoke a little French. I had hiked kind of ish hiking, here in Southern California, and there are plenty of trails. But the trails that we have here, there are so many people on the trails, and they're kind of like a little patchy. Of some are kind of paved and some are kind of raw, and so I had hiked in my mind. And so I put this all together and decided that this would be a great idea, and then get to another
Lovely.
country on a self-guided tour, can't find the trailhead, and I searched, and then I kept going back and sitting on this bench in the middle of the village, and then I would go back. I knew on the map this is where I was supposed to start, but like I didn't know what the marker looked like.
Right.
And isn't that
Oh,
indicative of the way we go through a lot of our lives? We don't know
right.
what we're really looking for. We have this general
You have this
idea
idea.
of what
Right.
we think it'll be.
Yes.
And that's why
And then you miss it when it
and you
actually
miss it.
shows up.
Right. And so, which, okay, so just a little jog off to the side here to say, which is another reason I always tell my clients, stop just looking for the man who looks like the man you think you
Yes.
want,
Yes.
and be open to whatever your right partner looks like.
Yes.
So, but in order to know that, you have to have figured out all the other ways that that man is your right partner, and it's not about his looks.
That's right.
So, finally, after literally 2 or 3 hours of this, and I'm just beside
2 to 3
myself
hours of
of
trying to
me,
find just the
because
entrance.
well, what else
Yeah.
could I do? Like
Yeah.
I couldn't, I was like, well, I'm here, so I might as well try to figure it out. So I started wandering around, and I was exhausted at that point. And I walked across the road and I sat down on the curb, and I just burst into tears. And then I was like sobbing and sobbing, and I had my head down and my eyes closed, and I became aware that I was like, gosh, there's a lot of traffic on this street. What's going on? I had walked into the middle of a traffic circle. So I'm sitting on the curb in a traffic circle. So all of these cars are going around and all of this. And so I thought, oh, okay, great. So I finally, I just sat there for a minute, and I started with my, why did I do this? This was ridiculous. Oh, yes, smart girl. Obviously not brilliant. Smart
Oh,
girl. And all of the self recrimination and the, why did you do this? You should have stayed home, blah, 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 blah. And this is going to
so
be
much bad
terrible.
girling. Oh,
Yes. Oh my gosh, I never thought of
yeah.
it that way. Yeah, bad girling. And I just, it was just everything. I think it was just a combination of everything, but it also goes back to that moment that I realized if I had read everything ahead of time, I might not have gone. And so I was already being moved through this. I was already in my flow without even realizing it.
Yeah.
And so in that moment that I was able to stop and stop beating up on myself, I just paused. And then the thought came, okay, you can keep thinking this is terrible, that you're terrible, that you made a horrible mistake. You can keep thinking that you never should have done this. You can get up and go find out where they brought your luggage and get back on the plane and go home. You can do all of that and tell that story for the rest of your life.
That's right. That's right.
Or you can figure it out and tell that story for the rest of your life. You have 10
Oh,
seconds. Go.
listen, a lot of people would have been like, totally understand if you gave up. Totally understand. You were smart to have given up. You were smart to have come home. You were in over your head. A lot of people would have applauded that.
Right.
Maybe not applaud it, but have certainly patted you on the head and said, I
Right.
understand.
Oh my gosh.
But
think
10
about
seconds of courage.
it. But do we want to go through our lives being patted on the head for doing what
Exactly.
was safe? See, that's the difference between they would have been patting me on the head for staying safe.
Be small, right?
Right. And small.
Well,
Exactly.
when you pat someone on the head, what are you doing? So I come from a background of body work. When you actually pat someone on the head, you're compressing the spine. You're doing your part to make them smaller. You really are. Never pat a kid on the head, listener. Don't do that.
Oh my gosh. Oh, all right. That's so good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to pat someone on the back because that is a celebration. A pat on the back means they've done something.
That's right.
Great.
And
Yeah.
even better, brush up the spine.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Ooh,
A brush
that's
up the
great.
spine is beautiful. It clears all of that energy up out of the head, and it makes people very, very tall, very, very empowered in a split
Wow.
second. It's pretty incredible.
Oh, I love that. It's
Yeah,
wonderful. And the one thing that 10 seconds did for me, or even being, having that suggestion fed to me, what that did for me for the first time in my life, I realized that I got to choose. I got to choose how my story was going to come out. And I got to actively participate in creating that story to then be able to tell it. And I don't think, I mean, there might have been other moments throughout my life. It's certainly, I certainly didn't just plod along. I
for
did
sure.
do other things. And yet it was just so clear to me in that moment that it doesn't have to just come out the way I think this is going to come out. I
Right.
can take an active, you know, part in it. And so that was really, for me, that turning point that, and then because I was open to it and decided that I was going to figure it out, angels just started showing up for me.
Ding, 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 ding. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Angels showed up for me. And I wound up not being alone for the entire time that I was in France for those 2 weeks. I wasn't alone. And I had everything I needed. And so I think that's something else that we need to know about asking for help. Just because the idea doesn't seem to pop out of our own
Right.
head doesn't mean that we're not doing it. It means that this is how that idea is supposed to come to us. And sometimes it'll come to us through us, and sometimes it'll come to us through someone else who's a
Yeah,
representative. I call, and I think I mentioned it before. To me, it's all divine download. If we're
absolutely.
open to it, and we're meant to get that message, then we need to be open to how that message is going to come.
Always, all the time, all the time. I mean, there's just, even in where you, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, chose to sit and collapse in the center of motion,
Yeah,
right? In the center of chaos, you chose to sit down and collapse and have a very real moment in the stillness of all that chaos.
right.
You surrendered. That's beautiful.
Yes. And think about that also, how we can apply that, all of us in our lives right now. If we keep looking outside of ourselves to get an answer, especially now in this time in the world, when we look outside of ourselves, there's what you just said, chaos.
Yes, absolutely.
So, how do we find our flow? How do we find our truth? How do we find our being and authenticity to offer it back to the world if we're asking the world to tell us who we are?
I mean, hello. Do I have a like confetti cannon? Can I? Pew, pew,
I would
pew.
love a confetti.
That
I
wouldn't that
would.
be awesome?
It would be awesome, a confetti cannon, just but not even on the screen. But you know what I would love? I would love to be able to just generate those hearts, that stream of
All the time.
hearts.
Ting, 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 ting,
Yeah,
ting,
yeah,
ting.
just around my head, right? Wouldn't that be a great way to go out in the world? And that would
That's
be
so
like
awesome.
it's literally putting love out in the world. I would love that.
That is so fabulous. That is so, so fabulous. Oh my God. So, okay. People, how do they find you? How do they find you? How do they work with you? Because this is so true. I remember even raising our kids and trying to raise individuals as opposed to sheep, right? Just going along with the herd. And neither one of our kids is a go with the masses kind of person. Our son, he has definite opinions and has never in his entire 22 years have you been able to sway him off of what he knows to be right.
Wow.
which is awesome as a parent because you can go, yeah, you can go to a party, you can go wherever you want because I know your definition of right and wrong and I support that and go ahead, have at it. And then there's our daughter who is she's very creative, very artistic. She's the actress. And raising the two of them to go out into the world to somehow, gosh, juggle the social pressures, right? As they're becoming of age and balance that somehow with their authenticity. I would always tell them, here's the thing. If you love the color blue, that's your favorite color. You wear it every freaking day of your life. But you meet a bunch of people and they only like the color green. So you go, okay, I can compromise and wear green and I'll fit in. But will you? But will you? Because then you come home and you put your blue on and that's when you feel most beautiful, most powerful, most alive. And then you have to take that off and put the green back on and go off with your friends. But there's a group of people out there who love the color blue. So wouldn't it be easier if you just wore the blue, went out into the world and let them see you?
It might not be easier.
And that's it. Exactly.
It'll be better. It'll be better, but you just said, wouldn't it be easier? But
exactly.
You're reminding me of something though. So if I love the color green, which I do, but I'm surrounded by blue. But if I love the color green and I want to go out in the world and wear my green all the time, and I meet a bunch of people who, prefer blue. Yes. To your point, these were the words you used. I would fit in with those people if I wore blue, but would I belong? No, I wouldn't. I don't belong until I bring my green to a group that is green.
Yes. Yes.
And that's the difference. I mean, every conversation that we've
had. It's
had.
simple, but not easy.
Right, exactly. That's the thing. It's simple, but it's not easy. And it kind of just keeps coming back around to the same thing. It's like, how do we present? It's how we present ourselves to fit in, but who do we be to belong?
Listen, Lena, go ahead. How do people find you? How do they work with you? How do they get to you so you can help them change their lives?
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity. So I want to say first that if you've heard something today that resonated with you, I would love for you to reach out. I would love to be able to have a conversation with you. So first and foremost, you can find me on Instagram at Have More Love. You can also find
me. It's a great handle, by the way.
Thank
Great
you.
handle. Have More Love. Come on now.
Yeah. On Facebook also. And if you're a Facebook person, I'm at Have More Love on Facebook as well. But I know Instagram, I don't know, there's something about Instagram that feels a little cozier or something, and about like,
I agree,
DMs and having conversations and building a community. But I'm in both places. And my website is a little trickier because I have to spell it a lot, because I always say we didn't think about social media when we were assigned our names. So my website is lenaehrenberg.com. And I think that's probably going to be in the show notes.
It will be.
Okay. So I will pass on spelling that. And I have a gift. If you come to my website, I will say that a lot of my clients want to be married and have children. A lot of my clients want to have families. And so you'll see a lot of that conversation on my website and in the work that I put out in the world. But I want to offer to you also, listeners, if you might not want to be married and you might not want to have children. You might already have your children. You might really be searching for creating a deeper, more enriched relationship at whatever point you're at in your life. And I would certainly love to talk to you about that as well. So you will find a guide that will help you get really dialed in about
Mm.
how to start dating if you're someone who hasn't been dating in a while. So I would love for you to find that free guide for yourself, and you'll find that on my website as well. And yeah, I mean, it's just such a pleasure. And I love your audience. And I have listened to so many of your episodes, Lisa, I have to tell
Oh, thank
you,
you.
because there is just such a, a deep well within you of not only all of your expertise and what you have to offer, but I feel such a deep connection. You're so connected and you're so grounded and you're so authentic. And even as a listener, and I've never met you in person, but I feel a connection with that. And that's really what we're talking about in relationships. And so I think this is just a beautiful space that you've created. Thank you.
Thank you. It truly is. It comes from an absolute place of authenticity. So for you to say that you felt connected just simply through the episodes, that means the world to me. That's everything. That right there, that's everything to me. And to your point, I think that that's the crux of all relationships. Let me ask you
Absolutely.
this. I know that technically you're a dating coach. What if someone is married and they find that they have a problem with work colleagues, or they have a problem with friendships, or they have a problem with extended family? Maybe it's not just um I think what I'm asking is, I think there are a lot of people out there who are probably very happy with their immediate family, but maybe it gets a little bit more challenging when you go into extended families. Do you work with people in that capacity?
Absolutely. When I first started coaching, I did what a lot of coaches do, which is I offered general life coaching. And so I had clients who were coming to, I also was certified as a life coach and as a weight coach at the time. I got a double certification. So I also had clients who were coming to me for weight loss and weight management. And going
That
back
makes
to our,
sense.
yeah, and going back to
Yeah.
our earlier conversation, everything in life is a relationship.
Yes.
Everything with it with which we interact is some kind of a relationship. It's not only with people. We have relationships with things. We have relationships
Mhm.
with our bodies. We have relationships with our businesses. We have relationships with money. We have relationships with our education. We have relationships with our desires and our dreams and our goals. Every single thing in the world is a relationship. So, absolutely. And a lot of my clients would tell you that they might have come to me to talk about dating, but along the way of working together, um, I have a very specific program right now that is 12 weeks for people who really want to get out there and get started dating quicker, sooner rather than later. But I
Right.
also have clients who have come to me for 6 months or a year at a time because they wanted to have a more overall approach to examining everything in all their
Mhm.
relationships. And so some weeks they might come in and say, work is just overwhelming right now. And so we'll take a session and we'll talk about their work. And when work is overwhelming, it's not always just the
Right.
amount of work, it's the people involved, it's the
Right.
relationships involved in work. So, yes, to your question, absolutely.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's great news for those of us who are living and learning. Thank you
Exactly.
so much, Lena, for being here with me. Thank you for taking time to sit down and talk about what I think is such an important topic.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. This has been such an honor. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, till next time.
Yes.
Thanks for being here with me, listener. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. And if you did, please consider sharing it with someone else who may enjoy it. My intention here is to inspire, empower, and help us all learn. So be sure to click that follow button for more holistic tips, inspiring conversations, and Reiki infused meditations. One more thing before you go, check out the Instagram handle at nagarelife.